Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective, a show where we get extraordinaires from all over the world to come and chat with you guys and us, of course, about anything that's pivotal, their pivotal ways, their tips and tricks, things that help you to level up, things that you can adopt, adapt, and help you improve personally and professionally. And so I'm your host, Elliot Brown, with, of course, my co-host,
Adrian.
And our video production extraordinaire Mike Perlow of Perlow Productions.
You guys should take.
Sorry, Mike, the crowd's a bit rude. They just cut in like that, you know.
I'll always take a cheer.
Because we can't really afford the proper crowd. Those are quite old and deaf, so that's why they don't really they're programmed to do that, you know.
We should talk about creating like an animated crowd for you guys. We could do some really cool things.
Hey, listen, we're definitely talking to the right person, aren't we?
There you go. We could even have your friends and family's faces on the characters and all that. We could do some.
I don't know about that. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Mike. You're in New Jersey, I believe. You're right. before the show. So tell us a little bit about Perlow Productions. You've been going 13 years. You're well established. You've got some great people say some great stuff about you. But tell us about Perlow Productions and what exactly you do, Mike.
Sure. So just real quick, so my background, I actually spent about 17 years as a TV sports broadcaster. So I come from a strong broadcasting TV production background.
I'm nervous now.
What's that?
I'm nervous now because you're the professional.
It's okay. You're doing a great job. You have a very nice studio, by the way. Adrian's got some work to do, but yours looks fabulous.
Next week. Yeah, I'll get something else.
That's okay. If you knew what was behind this trade show banner, it's not very impressive either. So I'm still working remotely from my home office. But anyhow, so after about 17 years in broadcasting, started Perlow Productions back in 2007. And I often say I'm kind of the unintentional entrepreneur because I never really set out to start my own business. But as the company grew, we started off doing kind of businesses for small local videos for small local businesses. And then as video grew, the internet grew, internet marketing grew, social media grew. We've started creating more and more content for a wide variety of companies, organizations. So something as local as a local bank, credit union, professional services office, to something as large as large technology companies like Dell Technologies, Hitachi, manufacturing companies, pharmaceutical. We work with hotels and resorts. At the end of the day, we're producing high quality videos that businesses and organizations are using to market, sell, promote, fundraise, build their presence on social media, really anything and everything you could be doing as a business or organization through the power of video. And that can be live action video or animation. As I referenced before, we have some incredibly talented animators. So we've even created some original animated characters over the years out of like the Geico Gecko mold.
Cool. And
we did work a number of years ago with Playmobil, the toy company, and we brought some of their toys literally to life.
Right.
We, our productions really run the gamut from fun and silly to very serious manufacturing. But really, at the end of the day, our goal is to, whatever we're doing, it's engaging.
Yeah.
We often joke that we do videos about manufacturing, which is, even if it's your field is rather bland, we make the boring interesting.
Yeah.
And it's already cool and interesting. We make it really, just imagine what we could do with your show.
Yeah, well, I already am. I'm trying to stop.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, look where you're starting.
And it's such a big thing now as well. I mean, you've been going, 13 years, and you're well established doing what you're doing. But you must have seen a huge increase in the last year, and even more so in the last 6 months. I would assume that there's a big growth in this area. There's a lot more video, and I know that we're going to be talking about your pivotal, ideas and things that are really helping video to move to that next level, and we're going to go over that. But people are using it a lot more now, aren't they? And even more than ever, and more than ever before.
Right. Well, I think over the years it's gone from video is a good idea to video is probably something you should use.
Yeah.
To video is really something you need. To now I say my job is not to convince you need video. If you don't believe that, it's like a guy that's not hungry coming into a restaurant. Like, what's the point, right?
Okay, but I just want to ask you, what do you think? So YouTube, social media, and then I mean Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, all this, good or bad for video production? I know the answer already, but I just...
Tremendous. Because, well, here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, technology's grown in all these places where people can make videos themselves. To me, that is only a bonus. That's a good thing, because when people are making videos themselves, they continue to see the value of video as a whole. And, you know, because I always like to use analogies relating to food, you could be a great cook. You still want to go out to a great restaurant where a chef can make you an incredible meal, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you could be one of the most talented YouTubers, but if you suddenly start a company that has a product or a service that you need to market, at a certain point you're going to say, okay, I can do these fun YouTube videos that are going viral, but I need a tool. I need a marketing and sales tool that's truly going to sell and promote my business. That's when you come to a company like Perlow Productions that's going to create videos that, you know, don't just look good, but also do what they're intended to do, which is sell, promote, market, you know, whatever. And so, no, I think, you know, social media is great. I mean, we constantly battle the, you know, oh, you only want a 15-second video. I've debated that with people. We're actually creating something right now for our TikTok channel. And my animator was saying to me, like, what do you think is the right length? And I was explaining to him how technically you can upload anything, I think, just shy of 60 seconds to TikTok, but we're aiming closer to like the 30-second mark.
Yeah.
So all of this, the explosion in technology, the fact that anybody can go out and buy a camera, buy editing software, buy lights. I mean, the ring light, I have one here in my home office.
Yeah.
All those things, the fact that those exist, all they do is tell people how important all those things are. But at a certain point, they realize that they can only do it at a certain level.
Exactly.
So.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. And then you come in with, you know, being able to take it to the next level. But you know, so we get the video thing, and I think anybody that's watching this should hopefully get that as well. And I definitely think that it's been spoken about a huge amount in the last couple of years about getting on video. You know, Facebook has changed everything, so it's more geared towards that. And of course, the TikTok is the massive sensation that is working really well. But what else? What, you know, virtual events and things like that. That's definitely you know, what you said was your pivotal thing was virtual events. You've mentioned remote moderation in the sort of questions before we say, what's remote moderation, Mike?
Sure. And I realize I kind of never answered your question fully about a video now. I kind of talked about everything up to it. But yeah, so a couple things. So to answer this question, so around the time that COVID kind of set in and people were trying to figure out what in the world they were doing with things, and everybody was going on Zoom and having meetings and chats and you know, whatever, and trying to do presentations. We had done a lot of live streaming of big key corporate events and presentations and conferences long before this. And I started to see all these people. One person contacted me. She had a fairly big name Olympic athlete. She did on a Facebook Live interview, and the interview kept falling off, and she had all kinds of technical problems. What I realized very quickly was there's a lot of people who want or need to use a platform like Zoom, but either have no clue what they're doing, or even if they kind of have a clue, trying to present and manage the technical at the same time is very challenging.
Of course.
I mean, I'm sure you guys deal with that yourself, right?
Well,
and you've done this a lot. You're doing a great job. And I've done it myself. I've done presentations myself live where I've been pushing all the buttons and doing all that, and it's not easy. Yeah. And so we started offering what we called remote moderation, where we would essentially do all the behind the scenes work for people during their presentation. So whether it was spotlighting somebody, putting multiple people on screen, putting up a PowerPoint slide, playing a video, you know, monitoring the chat, whatever it was.
So in essence, directing and producing while it's going on live. Exactly.
And basically what we said is, we're allowing you to focus on your presentation and what you're saying to your audience.
Sure.
And let us manage all the technical. And from there, the funny thing is, as that grew, we're doing much less of that now, because we're actually kind of pushing people away from Zoom when it comes to larger scale virtual events, because of bandwidth issues. There are creative and technical limitations. I mean, Zoom is great, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to do larger scale virtual events, conferences, trade shows, you're putting a lot of pressure on the Zoom platform to do things that it wasn't honestly really built for when they created it.
For sure.
So we have our own live stream platforms that we use where we can put up nice, I'm not sure what you guys are using, but the same way you put
StreamYard. We use StreamYard.
Okay, great. So a platform similar to that where we can put up the graphics on screen. We can, you have the bottom line scroll. We can play videos. We can do picture-in-picture, all those things. And even at a higher level, we can bring in up to, I think, 8 different remote presenters at the same time. And we're also not putting the bandwidth pressure on Zoom. It's all going on our live stream platform, and we have it backed up. So again, it goes back to the technical part, all the things that even honestly, like I'm so not technical. I'm like very creative and strategic, but I'm not technical. So we have technical directors that manage all this.
Yeah.
But managing all of that for people, because you see the things that can go wrong, and even knowing how to address it during a live event, right?
Sure.
And then it's grown to also creating the content. So whether it's pre-producing it, we've done fundraising events, virtual fundraising events, where the entire event was pre-recorded, pre-produced, and we did it all together with graphics and animation and all that. And it looks amazing. We live streamed the full production. We did that for a lot of virtual graduations. So they would announce, come to the ABC High School virtual graduation on July 2nd at 7 p.m. People would go to the live stream link and they'd watch the whole thing. So rather than just posting a video to, just like you guys do your show live, right? Because it's real time viewing. People still watch it later, but they can interact with it in a way when it's live that they can't when it's recorded, or interact with other viewers.
Absolutely. And talking about interaction, my mum, one of the biggest, our biggest fan, says, and actually, she's addressing you as well, Mike. You're the first person
to
address myself and Adrian and our guest as well. Hi, Mum.
Hello, Elliot's mum.
Here's Mum.
I'm going to get her on a show one day. She'll be hilarious because she's Dutch, and double Dutch definitely comes with it. So we'll have all sorts of interesting conversations. We should really get her on at some stage.
What's her best? What's the best thing she makes food wise?
That's a good question. Moussaka.
Moussaka.
She makes a very good moussaka, to be honest. That's not Dutch at all, is it? But she also does a very good Dutch apple strudel as well. So yeah. Mom,
I'll message you my address in the States. I'll pay for the shipping. You do the baking.
well, listen.
Or she can do a virtual baking, with Mike. So they can just, use the live stream platform and just you can do the live cooking.
You'd miss out on the virtual baking. Doesn't be quite the same, is it? To be fair, I don't know what it's like in the States at the moment, but obviously with lockdown and things like that, and I know we're getting off subject here, but the cookery shows are just not quite the same anymore, are they? When somebody's at home and they've already got it prepared there, it's just not. It's not quite the same. But yeah. So I love what you've been doing with the virtual stuff. In fact, it was funny because a couple of months, probably a month into lockdown, somebody actually contacted me about doing what you do, and I didn't know anything about producing it, and I thought, we could probably do something with it for Zoom, and try to be creative, and actually didn't get the contract because I didn't really know what the hell we were doing, and somebody else was a producer and actually did. But I really quite like what you do there, and I'm assuming there's a huge amount of business out there for doing these events and managing and directing it while things are going on. In essence, a virtual conference, I suppose.
We're having a lot of conversations. I've been sending out a lot of proposals, so my approach usually is, in fact, one of the things we've been doing is reaching out to companies and organizations that had a big event that they had to postpone or cancel.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of times, we actually posted something on LinkedIn a week or so ago, and I got some response, not as much as I hoped, which the question was, did you have a major event that you canceled? And, if you didn't look into a virtual option, why didn't you?
Yeah, good question.
A lot of people, either it didn't really occur to them that there was a way to do anything useful virtually, or they just found it overwhelming, which I think is probably more often the truth.
Sure.
When I speak to people now, the first thing I say to them is describe the event as it would have been to me in detail.
Yeah.
Start to finish. But we can't do that. Well, just tell me and let's see. And people are amazed at the ideas we've come up with now. To be honest, budget plays a factor as well. And just because they're not spending whatever they did on the main show doesn't necessarily mean the revenue is there to do a virtual one, because the biggest thing they're usually missing is the sponsors and the vendors and exhibitors and all the revenue that comes from them. So trying to strike that happy medium of putting on something that's worthwhile, that people will want to watch, provides value, potentially gives them things they can sell as sponsorship opportunities to their partners. So it involves a lot of creativity, both financially and production wise.
Yeah.
And, some are give me the biggest, the best, the most incredible thing we could ever do, and others kind of somewhere in between. But yes, there's a lot of people looking into it. And it's funny that you said you didn't get the contract because you didn't know what you were doing. Unfortunately, a lot have gotten the contract that don't know what they're doing. And I've heard some horror stories, particularly around the virtual graduations.
Yeah.
Schools that reached out to us, we quoted on their projects and then didn't get some. We got many, but not those. And I had some follow-up email exchanges with some people, and almost every single one of them said, it was awful. It was a mess. I wish I hired you, for a variety of reasons. One case, the guy that reached out to me actually ended up doing it himself.
Right.
He probably knows less than you guys. And he was literally saying, and he's like, and they didn't pay me anything extra. I just did it. And yeah, so
Yeah, but going back just a bit, I think doing these virtual events actually, for me, I work in marketing. I'm a marketing guy. I think that's even better, just because like we've discussed today, Elliot. It's the people that are going to show to those events. They are way better customers that maybe some that just going to come for freebies, to real live events in real life and all that. They just got to get their bags, see some friends and stuff like that. But the ones that are going to show up, they're more like hot leads, and then you can always follow up with some things, sell them something, because you have all the details. They've been registered there. If you do it correctly, you know even exactly for how many minutes they've watched the whole thing and all that. So there are quite good things to follow up from there. But yeah, it just depends how everyone is thinking.
And I think the future of events in general will be a hybrid, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
Well, especially with the VR and stuff like that, and when this is gonna take off and everything. Yeah, I don't really see the point of me traveling 2,000 miles somewhere to an event, and it's a bit tiring. And to be honest, loads of people, they're like techie guys. I know a few of them. They're doing reviews for laptops and things like that. They always get invited to launch of new products, and they said when this COVID hit, they just said it's a blessing. I got a break, finally. For 2 years, I was traveling nonstop. I really didn't have any break. And now it's so good because we can just have the live, the new launches online, just live events online. So that's it.
Well, if you look at the video games industry, I was in a video game, still on the edges of it in essence, really, for the last 10 years. You go to E3, for example, and Sony will do a launch, and Microsoft will do a launch, and they're in essence doing a virtual launch and doing an interview, as well as obviously people turning up at the show. So you're absolutely right. There's going to be that that physical presence, but also going out to an audience of people that won't necessarily get to that show. And E3 is a huge video games conference in LA. If people don't know that, it's one of the biggest. It's supposed to be the biggest in the world. In fact, the Germany one is actually larger, but it's one of the best known because it's been going for so very long. And Mike, you probably know about that show. And people don't. Not a lot of people will get there. So having things like that, particularly for industries like that, where you've got a lot of gamers that will watch videos and are used to watching videos and love to follow this stuff, you've already got a captured audience, haven't you? So they can get to that event, and I think there's going to be a good mix of those things. And this is great for companies like yourself that are already in that arena, I suppose, and have proven what you can do.
Right. And one of the things we're talking more and more with clients about is, okay, we're going to present ourselves somehow virtually. How do we do it best? How do we look our best beyond whatever we might do as a virtual trade show, right? Sure. So it goes back to creating content that speaks well about your product, service, or company. And so, we're talking with businesses about everything from tours of their facilities to instructional videos for products, how-to videos, company history videos, addresses from senior management, a wide variety of things. But part of it is, okay, don't just shoot it on your iPhone. Like you're still in the trade show environment where you are trying to you're going after business. So put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And so they're realizing that if they're going to present, even in a virtual trade show environment, they want something that really looks at the level it would if they were at that event, putting tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into a trade show exhibit and all the pieces that go into that. And so, that goes back to the core kind of video production we've been doing for years, and in some ways puts even more importance on kind of the bells and whistles that go with it to take just kind of an average video. I mean, think about your podcast right here. Take all the graphics away. It's 3 windows with 3 guys talking.
Yeah, of course it is.
Right?
Yeah.
But not just that. Like you said, probably as well, good cameras and those kind of things, and then the back end of all this, it's very, very expensive equipment. Just the lights, getting proper lights cost at least a few $100, pounds, whatever you want to do over there.
Right.
A nice camera, we just use some webcams in here, but technically we should, or at some point we're going to get some mirrorless cameras or something like that. They're going to cost about $500, $600 just a camera plus the lens. So
right.
Exactly.
So all those things are, have become more and more, people are recognizing the importance of those things even more now. And so, again, they're still getting their head around cost and investment and all that, but they certainly see the value in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you have to educate people when you're starting to work with them and get them to see things from slightly? Because I'm assuming a lot of people will come to you with a particular idea, and it's probably not. I mean, this comes back to messaging with marketing, and they're getting a good idea about what their business is. Doesn't matter how long it's been going, and the sort of ideal clients. So, do you still have to go through those processes with a lot of clients and sort of get them to get a clearer picture and get them to stand back and look at it and educate them a little bit so you can create the right video for them? Because I'm assuming you're not just going to go and do what they want you to do, because that doesn't always necessarily work, does it?
Right. Well, and as I point out when we're having those initial conversations, no, we won't do that, as opposed to others sometimes out there who will just, here's the check, here's the video we want, where and when.
Yeah.
To the point where I have actually told clients to put a pause on their project until they can figure out a better way to do it, or sometimes see their website as a mess. But we really, I spend a lot of time just kind of getting to know the company, who their target audience is, how they speak to that audience. 2 of the questions I ask that I'm amazed how frequently people have trouble answering it are, 1, what's the objective of the video, or what will make it successful?
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed how many times people don't have a solid answer for that.
Of course.
And then the number 1 question that I talk to people about all the time is the video should not answer why they need your product or service, but why they need it from you. And that is a question. So when I talk to companies about why do your customers work with, hire you, use your product instead of the competition, again, a very hard question to answer. Usually I get answers, and then I say, so all those things you just said to me, what was that line from a movie? Everything you said was completely wrong. Drawing a blank on the movie for a second. But anyhow, I should know I'm very good at quoting movies. Point is that all those things that people usually say could describe their competition just as easily. And so I say to them, like, go talk to your customers and ask them, for brutally honest, and don't email them. Pick up a phone, call them and say, hey, Elliot, you hired us to do this. Tell me about when you were considering us and 3 other options. Why did you choose us?
Yeah.
And to be brutally honest, is it because we were cheaper? Your uncle had worked with us. You thought our assistant was cute. You liked this video, whatever it was, give us your brutally honest answers. And that's the kind of information that needs to go into a video. The why people work with you, why people use your product, as opposed to the other options out there. And those are questions that most business owners, even a lot of people in marketing, have a really tough time answering. But once they start really thinking about it, they get down to some really cool information. And that's what I try to impart, sometimes directly in a video, or sometimes just indirectly through the vibe, the feel, the messaging of what you see and hear in the video. And to me, and we even use that when we put our own promotional videos together. I always say, if I have to tell you our videos are great, they're probably not.
Yeah. It's true. It's true though, and with all due respect, I'm not blowing smoke up your arse. I have watched some of the stuff you've done, and I have to say it's pretty impressive. It works really. It's got a really nice flow to it, and I don't know that it's unique necessarily. I don't mean that in a rude way. But it's quite fresh, and because there's a lot of videos, and I think it's possibly because there's a bit of a theme to the way that and I'm going to use the wrong terminology because I'm not a videographer, but the swooping in and things like that. There's the way you guys have done it, and I've watched quite a few of them. It's a nice mix. It's not over the top, it's subtle, and it suits the business. Each business it suits very, very well. So you do take that notice. But then of course you've been doing this a very long time, and as we said, there's a lot of people that do this job and they're photographers and they become videographers because that's the next step up. And I've seen a lot of stuff that doesn't really look as good as I think they think it really does. And it doesn't get the right point across, does it? It doesn't sell you correctly. And I think it's important to get that right for sure.
And that's something it's not always easy to explain to people, but I know, and we have some incredibly talented, they like call themselves cinematographers, right? Cinematographer, a videographer, a cameraman, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Yeah. They're incredibly creative, talented people. Okay? But some do, but some don't have that branding marketing strategy yet. Yeah. So, when I take their creativity and my ability to handle the branding strategy marketing part, everything looks great. But when it's just one, I've seen work done without the strategy and it may look great, but you watch it and you're done. You're like, I have no reason to hire this company, use this product or anything else. And to me, that's where it's, and I've seen this as the consumer too, right? I've seen videos in some industries we do work in some we don't. And I watch them with that same eye of when that video's done, whether it's a 30-second TV commercial or a 3-minute product video, do I have a reason to get more information, learn more, buy the product? Yeah. If not, something failed in the process. And also that it doesn't look like everything else out there. I did not take any negativity from what you said, Elliot. You're right. Sometimes people want to do things that are so outside of the box, and we actually say to them, like, it sounds fun, it sounds great, but is it going to actually achieve what you wanted to achieve? Yeah. The analogy I use is, or the example I say is, unless you're advertising on the Super Bowl, where it's all about building your brand and your name, and that's it. So the crazier, the better. Shy of that kind of audience, you need it to speak to your audience about you and your product or service. And when it gets crazy and silly and outlandish, and we've all watched things and we're like, that was hilarious. I have no idea what it was advertising. Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
It's very true. Very, very true.
What's the point? So only in that high level. And I will say that, coming back to COVID and everything now, we've been screaming from the rooftops. The online and social media audience now is bigger than ever. And using the Super Bowl analogy, the analogy we've used is it's like the Super Bowl is on TV every single day. Yeah. And I still, there are lots of businesses out there because they were either scared to sell and market or didn't know what to do, or just, in some cases, were just hammered and decimated, are not taking advantage of that audience. We have, a lot of our clients have, but I still tell people, like, the time, it's not too late. Get yourself in front of that online and social media audience because it is mammoth, and you have an opportunity to grow, find new clients, to build your reputation in front of existing clients. I I guarantee you, we would not be talking right now if COVID weren't happening.
Absolutely. Yes. We've said this. I mean, I started podcasting because I a good friend of mine, Brian Campbell. I always mention him. He's a good friend of ours, and is a music producer and does podcasts in the US. And he taught me into it. Over a year ago. So he set it up last year. So started doing them, but. I'm so very, very pleased that I had started doing them. Didn't really know where I was going with it, and obviously then asked Adrian to join me to do this show. But even before doing that, we did a show called C19, so it was about COVID and the impact it had on people and things, any ideas they had for other people, which sort of spurred on to this really. But it has grown our network, and as you said, when are you going to get chance to not just talk to somebody that you don't don't know for an hour, but talk in depth in a really interesting, informative conversation, something that's that's engaging. You just didn't really have that before. Podcasts were very audio. They've become very video orientated now, for sure, because of COVID, and it forced us to do that. I'd actually, thankfully, had started from day one recording with video, so it wasn't, but that's a difficult thing to do as well if you're not used to it, I think, sometimes. And so how, and that's brought me quite nicely to the fact that how do you work with people that are a bit camera shy, and of course it is important that the business owner or the face of the business is in the videos these days. People would argue with me and go, no, you can have somebody that's that can do that for you, and and do ads like they do a lot in America, where you'll get somebody on that's selling attorneys or whatever the firm is. But it's very important now. Do you agree that the business owner should be on there so people can see them? Do you agree with that?
So that's a great question and a conversation we have again with many companies, which is, are you truly the face of your business?
Yeah.
Do customers do business with you or just your company? So in our case, I play an extremely hands-on role. My running joke is,
Perlow.
I company name so much, I made it my last name. Every once in a while, somebody looks at me and says, wait a minute, you changed your last name? But I'll tell you a funny thing is, so in my case, I'm actually trying to do a little the opposite, which is I don't want my company and clients to be so reliant on my role that if I'm not there, it's like we can't do anything, right?
Of course, yeah.
So there's a fine line there. I don't want the company to be all about me. I want it to be about us as a company and all we can do. And trust me, a large percentage of all the great videos you see come from the work of our entire team. I play one piece of that role. But so and I just had this conversation with a company recently where they were talking about whether they wanted to have just scripted voiceover or do some interviews. And I said, so would you say most of your customers know you guys? Like, do they interact with you? And they weren't even 100% sure how to answer it. So I think if you, as the business owner, are a front-facing owner and play a role in the customer experience, definitely. I think we want to hear from you. But if you're just the guy, running the company, cutting the checks, it doesn't mean you can't be, but I think it's a different kind of position. It's more about the company and less about whoever. You could name a million companies. The CEO of the company in many is irrelevant, even if you know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Bill Gates, yes, everybody knows who Bill Gates is, but you don't really think of Bill Gates when you buy a Microsoft computer in general, right? Obviously his name brings a lot of cachet, but what I mean is his name doesn't play into the customer experience of buying a Dell laptop.
Of course,
right?
of course.
But when you buy a Tesla, you definitely think about Elon Musk.
Bingo. Although I don't think he's in any of their advertising.
No, but he's the one that
you can't help but know who he is.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and it is a good point. I think there's, and I'm looking at this now because I was going to ask the question about, obviously, how do you get people to overcome that sort of camera shy? And maybe we'll come to that in a second. But while we're on the subject, I think you're right. You've got the sort of micro businesses and your small SMEs, SMBs, however you want to class those. And there is a slight difference between the two, where you do really want to have the face of the person because it does matter at that stage, I think. Then you have this sort of middle band of businesses, don't you? The sort of larger SMEs, and the world is made up of mostly SMEs anyway. But you do have this where you probably do maybe just operate the business and you direct the business, the creative, and it isn't necessarily a face. And then you get to the super large companies, which we've just mentioned, and they stand on their own merit. But you're right, you're not buying a Tesla because it is Elon Musk, but you know who he is and you know who Bill Gates is, etc. So
by the way, I have to correct myself. I can't believe I just said that Microsoft makes Dell laptops.
You did say Dell. I wasn't going to pick you up on that, to be fair.
I'm sitting here, but you got my point. Is that buy a Microsoft product, you may think of Bill Gates, but you're not.
Well, he provides the operating system, right. So that's why. No, it's not that wrong. Yeah.
Good save.
Actually, who is the head of Dell? I have no idea.
Michael Dell.
Michael Dell. Oh, there. No, I
yeah.
did not.
Which Mr. Perlow actually? I suppose you've worked with him, no? Because you said that in the beginning. So yeah.
Not him directly, but
no, yeah, with the company. Yeah.
We do a lot of work with Dell Technologies. So yeah. Which is why I was equally extra embarrassing that I said that.
We're gonna cut that out. Don't worry.
Going to our analogy, like Henry Ford. I mean,
yeah.
What role did? I mean, obviously his name, but
we're choosing the color.
Well, yeah. So I think it really depends, and but then you also get. I mean, think of then you get business owners that just want to be the face of their business, and then others. As you were asking, Elliot, there are people that they may be the face of the business, but they're not particularly, extroverted. And so sometimes they're camera shy or not comfortable speaking on camera. So I would say more often than not, if somebody is a key element of their business and we feel they need to be in the video, we find a way to do that. A lot of times, not to get too granular, but instead of saying, hey, Elliot, go write a 3-minute presentation about your company, I'll say, give me some key talking points. And we sit down and do kind of a conversational interview, and they're just talking to me because what I say to them is, just talk to me about your company. The easiest thing to talk. It's like talking about your last great, pre-COVID, your last great vacation. Yeah. Right? How easy is that to talk about, right? So same thing with your business. It's your baby. Just talk to me about it. Yeah. So that's what we often will do. And the nice thing is, I've had people go into that setting saying they're incredibly nervous. They don't like to be interviewed. They don't like to be on camera. And by the time it's done, they're surprised how easy it was and how well they came across. Because it's just, again, going to those little things that make a difference in our process. These conversational style interviews that come from my experience as a TV reporter and I've interviewed so many people. I'm not going to tell you I've never interviewed somebody that gave me nothing because that's happened. Yeah. But I would say I've had
to us as well. So yeah, we know what you're saying.
Not this evening though, for sure.
Right. For the most part, I'm pretty good at getting nice conversational answers out of people and asking the right follow-up questions. So if somebody says something that I didn't expect, I don't just move on to the next question. Yeah. I ask, so I didn't know you had a collection of antique cars. Tell me about that. Yeah. Those inherited, so, kind of being a good listener is part of it as well.
It is, and I think you're absolutely right. The conversational thing is way easier to do than it is stood in front of a camera and talking about it. And it's in fact, it's something that we want to work with people, and I think we should absolutely be talking after the show. So I think as we're talking, I'm thinking of things that we could maybe do together, which would be quite cool. But I like this format. In fact, I think this creates unique content, and having a chat with somebody about their business is so much easier than going, right, you've got a couple of minutes, get your phone out and record something of yourself, because that's not easy. I find this way easier than talking about myself and the business and just putting a phone on me, and I've practiced enough times. If you were put on the spot, Mike, I mean, even with your experience, you still get a little bit nervous, don't you?
Sure. Well, I mean, anybody that knows me well knows I never shut up about my business. So I'm probably the exception to the rule. But to your point, so I will tell you this. Okay, I've been on live TV in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sure there's got to be many million watching this right now.
Oh, yeah,
millions, aliens as well. Yeah,
worldwide audience, probably even into outer space. I will tell you that put me in front of a group of 20 people in an auditorium, not nearly as comfortable.
Really?
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, I can do it. Like I've spoken at conferences and I'm good, but all that, but definitely not the same comfort level as looking into a camera and speaking, no matter how big the audience is.
Yeah. It's just because you feel the eyes looking at you, and because you see that expectations over there.
I don't know what it is, but I just know that. I really don't know, but it's just something I've noticed over the years that, I mean, I'm rarely nervous on live when I was on live TV or on something like this. But if you bring me in a room with 50 people, I'll be fine. But it's definitely not the same comfort level, and I can't explain why.
No, it's funny. There's an energy. There's an energy with when humans are in front of you. It's a very different energy to having them on a camera, I think. And I absolutely get what you're saying there. I find it way easier than stood up on a stage. And you know, we've all done that. All three of us here. There's a question come through actually. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he can clarify this. I'm just going to pop it on the screen. Hey guys, you have a lot of ex-guests. Wondering if you were referring to them. I'm not sure. What's that?
I think probably that's for us because we keep saying we had people that we couldn't take informations out or stuff like that. So yeah, Mike, no, we're definitely not referring about our guests. We can say that, but yeah. Let's say we had potential customers or things like that, or people like that, right? Yeah.
Let's go with that. Great question though, Mike. If you have any questions,
when you talk about comfort on camera,
yeah.
So a number of years ago, we were shooting a video for a client, and we had hired a couple different actors.
Yeah.
Which we don't do a ton of productions with actors, but we do more now. And we hired a male and a female. I told her this story just about 6 months ago, so if she happens to figure out this is her, she won't be upset. And we were shooting the scenes first from his direction and then from hers.
Yeah.
So when we were shooting his, she was just reading her lines off camera. And then once he was done, we shot hers. Well, the whole time she's reading her lines off camera, and the marketing director for this company is standing with us, she was brutal. Like, couldn't spit 3 words out. And my just look at me like, where did you find this girl? What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. We turn the whole thing around. We start shooting her shots, her scenes. From the moment she was on camera, bang. I mean, she killed it. It was amazing. Like I said, I was telling her the story recently. Some people are just like that. The moment the lights go on, they come to life. And until they are, they just don't have it there. So you see both ends of that sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. It's not an easy thing if you're not used to it. I think, as you said, some people are. I think definitely through everybody using Zoom or Teams and things like that. Everybody's got a lot more used to using video now, so I think it's going to be a lot easier for business owners or people that want to set a business up to get themselves out there on video, just because we've become a lot more used to doing this. I mean, I have to say that everybody in America, even in Canada, they seem a lot more comfortable with getting on and coming on shows like this and chatting. In fact, you just generally seem a lot more confident in front of a camera than the English. The English don't seem to be quite as fluid when they come on shows. Some of them do. I'm not knocking anybody in particular here. Just mean in a general sort of feel that the English never seem to be quite as fluid, quite as natural, quite as confident in front of the camera. Why do you think that is, Mike? Do you think is it because you've got a far more TV culture in the States?
I don't know. Honestly, that's the first time I've ever heard that. So that's interesting. Really? But I think I'm going to open up a branch of Perlow Productions in the UK.
Well, we could maybe do a sort of a JV, a joint venture on this.
No, I mean, I honestly can't speak specifically to the
UK or
in the UK, but what I would say is that, I mean, I see here, even in the United States, there are many people who to this day still don't come on camera in a group Zoom meeting. But I think when people aren't comfortable, I think part of it is, particularly right now, because people aren't literally dressed and done up the way they would be at work. So I think, if and when we're back truly in our offices and dressed for work all the time, I think people will feel more comfortable that they look good. But I think it may just be a cultural thing. Although, I don't know. I feel like lots of the people that I see on Zoom calls here in the US are not people that I would ever thought of as camera friendly or comfortable going on camera. I think it just kind of becomes something they've done. But the other thing I'll say is that I think that anybody that's going in these Zoom meetings, wherever you live, if you're not showing your face, going back to the missed opportunity, the connection, there's a huge disconnect if 6 people are showing their faces and 1 or 2 aren't.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
And again, a missed opportunity to connect with people. So, if you're not happy with how you look, and I don't think it's like, I think I'm fat. I think it's like, I just don't like how I look on camera. Right? If you don't like how you look on camera, dress yourself nicer, put on a little makeup, brush your hair, whatever. At a certain point, like, you are you, be real. And, oh boy,
Mike Allison says, guys, apparently I have the perfect face for a radio.
Well, many have said that about me too, even though I somehow got on TV. I'm not quite sure how.
No, but
The COVID is not helping the face right now.
You look great, Mike. You look great.
What you're saying, Mike, I can definitely find myself. So I'm not that happy that I'm in a pink room now, but I have to go on with the show. There's not much. I'm not going to start redecorating the room now just because of that.
You're you're in transit.
Exactly. Yeah. I think
really, we have to explore that topic, because I really don't know why, if there is such a difference in mentality about comfort being on, putting your face on camera. Between
I think I'll tell you my opinion. It's just because I don't think all of them are like that, but also the nature of the show and what we've done. It's the fact that we had entrepreneurs, most of them that just wanted to present their business. They never done that before, right? But they were kind of forced now just because of the situation. And they have no experience in front of the camera. They don't know what to say, how to say it, and they either mumble a lot or they just go straight for the sale, like me and Elliot said many, many times. And it's nothing interesting, nothing fluid. Sometimes it's not funny. It's just a pure reading from a script in a very serious note. And obviously that doesn't really do good to anyone.
Yeah, right. I know. It's a good point. I think there's the in America, you're probably a few steps ahead in people sort of selling themselves, but not, if you understand what I mean. So going on podcasts, because it was way bigger in the States before. It's growing over here now, of course, and has done in the last year or so. But it's been quite large in the States for a while. So people have been doing shows and going on shows. They know not to sell themselves. It's just about having a conversation. Listen, you could see plant, you can drop bits and pieces into a conversation, but just don't make it so blatantly obvious that you're selling. And I think this is a good thing to talk about now, because we are talking about videos, we are talking about getting yourself out there. You don't need to go straight in for a sell on a video. People want to know who you are. Well, they want to understand who you are. Of course, they want to understand what it is you do, but there's a way of delivering that, isn't there? And I think, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there that will show you a few steps to do that, but just don't try and do it too literally and try and do it too perfectly would be my advice on that. We've got a couple of things coming through here, actually, if you don't mind, Mike. Joy Tootle Armstrong, great name, by the way, Joy. I agree 100%. Don't miss an opportunity. You never know what those connections could lead to. That's absolutely true. Mike is still hanging around. Thanks, Mike. Historically, the British are a reserved breed, unlike our brash cousins from the US. We'll take that as constructive, Mike. I don't think he means it in a and I still love him. There we go.
Mike does not have a picture in his profile image.
Yeah, he went straight for the sale, Mike. Yeah.
What was that? What is it there?
Wash back on calls. Oh no, cash back on calls. Sorry, cash back on calls.
Oh, okay. So he is going. Mike, you want to get an image on there, a picture on there, my friend. But great comments, and I think you're absolutely right. We definitely are a little more reserved in the UK. Well, not me personally, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think also, just Elliot and Adrian, just to touch on that, one of the things I've noticed with people being on a lot of these kind of networking Zoom calls and some other platforms I've been on as well, is even people that are okay being on camera. And it's funny because I've tried to see if there's an opportunity to help people in this, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like asking people, are you unhappy with how you dress, right? Like, it's hard to say, do you not like how you look or come across on camera? But I see a lot of people that don't really, they know what to say, they just don't know how to say it and present it. And so when you hear them speaking, it's kind of a lot of this kind of informational, a bit wooden. There's no personal connection to it.
Yeah, sure.
And they end with, if you know anybody I can help, let me know. And I'm like, well, but you gave me no reason to think about you, right? They didn't do it intentionally, but so I think a lot of people, I've encouraged people, like, go watch yourself, a recording of yourself, and see how you speak to your audience, how you interact with people, even your facial expressions, particularly. That's another thing. I mean, when you're on a Zoom call, Adrian at least 6 times is give them this look of like, who is this guy we have on our show today?
Yeah, sorry, that's just my face. I can't help it with that.
But seriously, like being aware that you are truly on camera all the time, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't mean you can't scratch your nose or whatever, or pick up a cup. I mean, Gary Vee to me is like the ultimate example of a guy who takes himself seriously, but not too seriously.
Yeah.
You will see him like get up and walk away and get a cup of coffee in the middle of his live broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Go get something for his mom. And that's actually taught me a lot of like, present yourself well, but don't be so serious about it, right? Like take it, I don't know if I'm making sense, but like take it seriously, but everybody realizes we're in this weird environment, you know, like 6 months ago, if you had a screaming kid in the background, everybody would be like, why would you be anywhere near your child?
For sure. Now
we're all stuck at home, right?
Yeah.
The guy that I network with regularly, he has a child that's, I think, like a year old, and most calls, the kid's in his arms, screaming, crying, talking, whatever, and, you know.
So you're saying basically be less robot, be more human.
Yeah, be real. Be real.
If something happens, you know, if you...
I can pick my nose now if I want, because I'm holding it for a while.
I'd rather you didn't.
If something happens, you know, whatever, you drop your microphone, you spill your drink.
Yeah.
It happened, right? Big deal.
Yeah.
I think on podcasts it's a bit easier because you're not going to see, like I said, if you do that in front of 20 people, I think it's a different feeling that you're going to get if you do this, right? But if you do it on a podcast or in a video like this, I'm quite relaxed, to be honest about it. I don't have any problem in dropping the mic or doing something silly.
Let's see.
That's it. That's it.
Come on.
And drop the bottle.
Well, listen, Mike, I think I've really, really, really enjoyed talking to you. You've been an awesome guest. You really have, and I think there's a lot to be learned from what we've spoken about. I think there's some great little tips in there. There's a few little snippets we can take out from this that I think are gonna help people. And there's me. I literally got a frog in my throat there, didn't I? But we're not going to cut that out.
That frog, unbelievable.
But just before probably we go on this, I have a question, because let's go and try to help the guys or the the people that are watching and listening to us as well. Is if we would be your customer, if a new customer comes to you, what would be the requirements? What they need to be prepared with? Because I bet you had customer that came and probably said, "Well, I want the video. Make me a video that sells. That's all. All right." So, what actually are the requests that you need from someone in order to have a smooth project?
Well, I mean, I don't mind if people come to me and say, we really want to make a video. We don't know anything more than that, because I can go through the process. And some people come with very specific ideas. I think I wouldn't say there's any one requirement. Okay, I'll give you an analogy of the conversation.
What do you prefer? Yeah,
I will say the conversations that don't go well are the ones when somebody calls me and says, I have a whole long list of these expressions, but one of my favorites is, we thought of making a video, we thought of shooting it on our iPhone and putting it together ourselves, but we thought we'd call and find out what it would cost for you to do it. Mm-hmm. And my polite response to you is, well, we're not really the next step from shooting it with your iPhone and editing it yourself on iMovie.
Yeah.
We're about 12 steps above that.
Yeah.
So when it starts there, that's kind of a hard place to start a conversation. But if somebody calls and says, either, hey, heard great things about you, or found your website and loved this video, or we saw this, we'd really like to do something like that. Or, I think it's really coming and saying, we see something we like that you've done, or heard about something you've done that is in the realm of what we want to do, or you did something for one of our competitors. That's a good place to start, because at least they have their head around quality and vision. Budget is always a tough question to answer, because it can be all over the map. A lot of people don't have. The one thing I will say is being comfortable, being honest about your budget, right? It doesn't mean, because at least in our case, I can tell you that just because somebody tells me their budget is X doesn't mean I then give them a proposal for X.
Yeah, of course.
But it's going back again. I keep talking about food, and I wonder why my clothes don't fit. If you tell me, Mike, I want you to make me dinner. Well, I don't know if you want a burger and fries from McDonald's, or you want a steak and a nice bottle of wine from a fine restaurant, and what you can afford, what you find value in, all those things, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that much different when it comes to what we do, because, a what some people find is worth investing in video is not the same as others. And in some cases, they just can't afford it. So when people come to us and say, we have no idea what our budget is, and then we come to them with a proposal and they say, oh, that's way beyond what we can spend. So my initial reaction is, well, so you at least had some sense of where your budget was. So giving me that until I have a crystal ball, which isn't arrived yet from Amazon, seriously, like it does give some perspective. You want somebody to build you a house. Well, are you building a single, 3-bedroom, single family house or a mansion?
Yeah.
Right? If you tell somebody, I just want you to build me a house, like where are they supposed to go with that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It would, so I think, giving some perspective to that, giving some thought to that, and finding a partner that you trust enough to know that if you give them a budget figure, they're not just going to spend it because you said a figure to them. Yeah. And to me, if you can start there, that's a great place to start because it gives us a sense of what level of production we should recommend. Because I would say that pretty much every video in our portfolio could have been produced at a higher level or a lower level. And much of that, I'd like everything to be a huge, crazy, whiz-bang production, but not every project commands it. Not every project can afford it.
Yeah.
In some cases, they'd rather do a series of videos. I always say I'd rather do 1 or 2 great videos than 8 kind of average videos. So right. I often tell clients, okay, your budget's X, the budget's fine, but probably not enough to do 5 or 6. So how about we do these first 2 really well?
Yeah, really well. Yeah.
And usually people like that approach. Some people are just about quantity, in which case, again, we're usually not a good fit. But when they're about quality and they, then it's usually a conversation that's productive. And one of the questions I ask people all the time is share examples of videos, whether they're not our portfolio or that you've seen elsewhere, that represent the look and feel of the kind of video you're going for, even if it's not your industry.
Yeah.
And many times they're showing us videos from our work. Sometimes it's elsewhere. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm not insulted that you found a video somewhere else that you love. I'm glad that you're not contacting whoever made that video. And instead, you're coming to us and saying,
exactly. Yeah. It's a good thing.
And so I think that, that's it. It's wonderful when you have a company that comes with a full marketing department, a huge budget, and they know exactly what they want. But it's also nice to be able to help people figure it out. So, so I think more often than not, we bring ideas to the table that even when they came in with a pretty specific concept, they didn't have originally. And I find that fun. I'll sometimes throw out ideas and say, listen, if you don't like the idea, I'm not going to be offended, but here are a few things we could do.
Yeah.
From that often comes some pretty cool productions.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, in essence, people need to be doing video. On whatever level, it's been spoken about before. We've spoken about it before, and definitely today. So there's a few things that people can be taking from this for sure. You need to be getting on there, and who knows that if you do get that video done on your phone today, that in 6-12 months' time, that you could have got enough business from just doing those few bits and pieces, or got your confidence to be then taken on to the next level and using a company like yours, or even yours. Mike Perlow Productions, of course, is going to be the first choice. Well, listen, we're going to end up because Mike Allison, who clearly is a bit of a comedian, says, I was on a Zoom last week and my girlfriend walked past naked in the background. I have to say my wife wasn't very impressed. That's quite.
We actually did a production for Hitachi, which was a mock Zoom call. You can see it on in our Perlow Productions portfolio.
Yeah.
A mock business conference call on Zoom for a fake company. And we had a scene where one of the guys is kicking back in his chair and his roommate walks through naked. Of course, he wasn't really naked. But we did, we did a whole pixelization on it. Yeah. He walks so it looks like he's naked. And another guy was flipping his toenails, and it was fun.
That's the sort of stuff people want to see right now, isn't it? I mean, you use TikTok as well, right? You see your TikTok, so
on TikTok.
Of course you would be. So where can everybody find you, Mike?
Sure. So first and foremost is just perlowproductions.com, spelled like you see it on the banner behind me. If you search Perlow Productions, if you search Mike Perlow, you'll find various links to our website. We are on pretty much every social media platform out there. You can follow us and myself on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn,
TikTok.
What's that? TikTok. Perlow Productions YouTube channel. We have a page on Vimeo because that's where all of our videos are embedded from as well. and where else have I feel like I forgot one, but
we'll make sure there's some links around.
Yeah. So, and we are extremely active on social media, posting about productions we're working on, posting about videos we just completed. We love to brag about our clients when they have success or big company news. We actually, and you guys will be happy to be added to it. We just added a section to our website in the last month featuring our various podcast media appearances. And so you guys will be the next one to be added. It's called, what do we call it? I think it's called like featured on. It's in the About Us section of our website.
Oh, cool. Well, we'd be proud to be on there for sure.
Especially if you change my background.
There you go.
We've got one more question, and we've really got to answer these because we've got quite a few. Why Vimeo and not Wistia, Mike?
Well, I will say why Vimeo. I mean, I've looked into Wistia over the years, and I know some of the benefits of it, but I will say that Vimeo at its core was always a home for creatives, and I think that their embedding features are fantastic. Rarely do you have playback issues with Vimeo. Their features are much more, I'm really comparing it to YouTube, but much more malleable than YouTube. YouTube has a lot of restrictions. You can update videos on Vimeo. I've looked into Wistia more for like revenue generating purposes, but in terms of embedding videos on our website, Vimeo has just always been the perfect platform. And I can't say why not Wistia. It just never seemed to present itself as a better option for us for what we use it for. We also use it. Vimeo has a great client review platform where we can send a client a link to the video and they can put comments in there and download. There's just a lot of, I just find the functionality of Vimeo is gives us everything we need. And Wistia just for whatever reason never seemed to do that. Maybe it does now. I honestly haven't explored it in recent years. I will say, this is ironic coming from a video production company.
Yeah.
In the last year, we've put a lot more effort than we ever did to putting our videos on YouTube. We've always had them on YouTube, but I still don't love the functionality of YouTube on a professional level in terms of some of the things it does. But there's no doubting the SEO benefits of YouTube. So we put more and more content there now, and we've probably quadrupled the amount of content we have on YouTube now than we had even a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But and we even now embed some of the videos on our website through YouTube. But there's just some of the functionality is just more limited. Even the screenshot you can choose for your video is just a lot of, I don't know. I don't know why YouTube has not changed that, but I guess when you're that successful, you kind of stick with what you have.
Well, it works. It works, doesn't it? So
hard to argue the YouTube case study. You've done something right.
Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been inspiring, definitely, and there's a few things I've taken from it that I want to do. In fact, even the Vimeo, it's something we've been looking at. It's sort of embedding things that we do onto the website as well. So we're checking that out, and definitely want to be keeping in close contact with you, Mike, moving forward, because I think an animation would be rude not to sort one out now, wouldn't it? After you said that,
definitely. And I should mention that anybody out there that's watching, listening, I'm always happy to take an email, a call. So all my contact information, and it is truly my direct email, my direct phone number is on our website. So reach out to me, mention you heard about us on this show, and even if you don't, I'll still talk to you. But, nice to know where people come from, and I just got a call from Parliament. They want to talk to me about this anti-UK bias you seem to have. I might be on a long call for the rest of the evening now.
We'll cut that bit. We'll remember to cut that bit off the end of the show. Yeah. No, thanks very much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And also with all those links that Mike said, we'll make sure they are put up over the next couple of weeks around the video. If you have watched this live, and it's been going out on 7 profiles today, so we've been going out on 5 Facebook profiles, including YouTube Live and Twitter as well, all through StreamYard, which works very well for what we do. But if you want something a bit more professional, then obviously you've got Mike to speak to as well. Thanks very much, Mike, and thank you very much, Adrian at Doroban too.
Thank you very much, guys.
if you want to know what else is going on Essex Business Radio, and we've got loads of news coming for you this month, then you want to keep an eye on our social media. So it's Essex Business Radio across pretty well everywhere apart from Pinterest. And Twitter is Essex Biz Radio, Essex Biz, B-I-Z-Z Radio. But go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe there, smash the like button, do whatever you've got to do to get notified. I don't know what it is, but just do that stuff. And follow us.
Click on any button on YouTube, to be honest.
Click on buttons and things. And we're going to say goodbye to a couple of people that have been very busy this evening. Hi, thanks, Joy. Great info. Really pleased you've enjoyed the show. And Mike, the comedian, of course, thanks very much for joining us. And thanks for everybody else that's joined us. If you made comments, if not, then you can comment on the next show. And tomorrow we are back with another guest. Check out our social media tomorrow to find out who. But otherwise, for now, we're going to sign off. So I'm going to say ciao for now.
Brown cow.